Today we're here to talk about Project Professional versus Project Online, also known as PWA. I'm going to give you a little bit more information about Marquee 360, and I also have a colleague on the call who's going to be doing the training session for us. Suzanne, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone.
Thanks. Before I get started into this, I just want to let you know we are recording the session and we will send that out after the webinar is over. And also, if you have any questions, please feel free to put your questions in the chat. We do have a large group with us today. If you do want to unmute and ask a question, that's totally fine, but we're going to try to get to as many questions as possible, but we may run out of time. Just know that we will get to those, whether it's email or in a follow-up session, we will get to those questions. So a little bit about Marquee 360. We're a Microsoft Gold Partner for Cloud Productivity, Project and Portfolio Management, and Collaboration. We were named Microsoft Partner of the Year finalists for this past year, which was super exciting. We have locations all across the globe, US, Canada, Australia, Europe. We focus on digital transformation using Microsoft 365. So any of those manual processes, day-to-day things that you're working on, we take all those and digitize them so that you can focus on the work that really matters to you and not have to take time out of your workday to do those processes. We focus on customer success, so when we implement a solution, we don't just implement it and walk away. We work with you to discover which solutions work best for your environment and your team. We work on the technical implementation with you. And then after the implementation, we also have support, workshops, training, anything to make sure that you're as successful as possible with your new solutions. Our main focus is to extend all of your solutions on the Microsoft platform to give you a little bit more functionality, create a seamless environment so you're not working in a bunch of different platforms. We bring it all together so that it's all in one place and collaboration is super easy for you and your team. A little bit more about specifically our services and solutions. So Microsoft Project Consulting, whether that's Project Online, Project for the Web, any questions you have getting up and running, or if you already have it and some things aren't working out, we're there to help with those. We also work a lot with Microsoft Teams. We have apps for Teams too to integrate any of your existing solutions into Teams. We have pre-configured apps, so if you're not looking for an entire solution framework, if you're just looking for maybe intake, maybe your intake process isn't working, we do have an intake app, other apps like governance to just help out with those little pieces that you might need instead of having to do a full-blown implementation. And if you go to our website, you can see our entire suite of app offerings. We also do a lot with the Power Platform. So wherever you're at in your Power Platform journey, if you're just getting started, we have workshops to help. We have consulting. So wherever you're at in your Power Platform journey, we can help with those. And what we're here to talk about today, Project Pro versus PWA. This is some of the topics that Suzanne's going to hit, and I'm going to pass it over to her.
All right. Thank you, Erin. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining on this Hump Day Wednesday. I am in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So nice to, I guess, virtually meet all of you. I heard somebody was from British Columbia, so hello, fellow Canadian. I'm going to make an assumption that the French folks on the call might be in Quebec, perhaps. So welcome as well. Folks, we are going to be covering a lot of tips and tricks in Project Professional, looking at some of the, not rules necessarily, but some of the processes around managing project schedules, and then, when you should be using PWA versus when you should be using Project Professional. What I wanted to really quickly start with, and I'm just going to share my screen, is our intake app. Now, we are not covering intake today, but I really quickly wanted to share what the intake app looked like, just so that for the folks that don't have it, can see that really this is our application that takes an idea and goes through, perhaps various workflows and approval stages in order to get to a final version of Project Created, where you would then go in and work on your project in Project Online, whether that is PWA or Microsoft Project Pro. And of course, all of these areas here are highly customizable. So basically processes that you already have baked into your organization, or processes that you'd like to introduce to your organization, we can put all of those in here so that you folks are capturing the information that you need in one space, saving that information, and this information, once it's approved, is available to you in PWA, so that your project managers can then continue working on their project. So I really quickly wanted to just show that, since Erin mentioned the intake app. All right. So this is PWA, also known as the Project Web App. And guys, sorry, really quickly, Erin mentioned we do have quite a few people on the call today. So if you put your questions in the chat and we can't get to them just because it might take us down a rabbit hole, we will answer them separately, either in a new session or via email. So just make sure we have your email address so that we can get those answers to you, okay? All right, so this is PWA, Project Web App, and I recognize some of the names on this call, so some of you have already heard me. I refer to PWA as kind of like the little sister to Microsoft Project Professional, okay? So the Project Online terminology houses PWA, which is this application that we're looking at here. It is URL based. So if you have, Chrome or Edge, you can access PWA on the fly. If you're sitting in Starbucks and you want to pop open your laptop or your smartphone and update a schedule or assign a task, you can do all of that as long as you know your login information, because it is only URL based, which is really nice. Okay. The other part of Project Online is Project Professional. So this sort of view, although blank at the moment, might be familiar to some of you if you're using Project Professional. Okay, maybe some of you are using the desktop version, so there's no connectivity between Professional and the Project Web App. Okay, so what I'm going to show is that connectivity that gives us that name, Project Online. Okay, so let me pop back into PWA here. All right, so just a couple of quick things here to note. And again, whether you're using this tool currently and looking for a little bit of a refresher, or you've never seen it, I just wanted to show a few things in here just from a navigational perspective, because I noticed that even if you've been using this tool frequently, we folks tend to forget some of the little things that make our lives easier when it comes to navigating around the page. And that's just because, we get caught up in our lives and work and getting our stuff done. So first thing I wanted to note, the logo. So this is our marquee training site, but of course in your own environment, you would have a logo right on the top left-hand corner here. That logo, if you click on it, takes you right back to this home page. Okay, so it's sort of like Dorothy clicking her heels and there's no place like home. Hit the logo, no place like home. It will take you back up to the top of this page where you can see all of these tiles and sort of this white and green space. Okay, unless of course you've customized your colors with us, then it won't be white and green. These tiles across the top, Microsoft originally created these for those folks that have touch screens. So you don't have to use them as a touch screen. I just simply click on them with my mouse. But when I did have a Surface laptop, it was great. I could just launch these with a tap. Okay. Not all of these, but most of these are available on your quick launch on the left-hand side. Okay, so you can navigate via the quick launch, which is this stuff over here, or you can navigate with the green tiles. For example, your project center is projects. Okay. Your resource center is resources. You've got my timesheets, and there are timesheets over here. Okay, tasks. All right. Now, we do also customize this quick launch. So if you are looking at your environment, you may find that there are more items on your quick launch or perhaps less. Likewise, these green tiles, you may have more, you may have less, depending on what you wanted us to build out or simply what you wanted us to add on this home page, this landing page for you. And if you've never seen it, then just know that we took an out-of-the-box solution and we further customized it, created some of our own stuff, like PPM 360, financials, insights, etc., to sort of make this more of a customized version and more of a demo environment so we can show you sort of high level some of the things that we can do. Over on the far right-hand side, guys, far right-hand side, I've got my mouse circling the area here where my cursor is. There's a little rectangle with kind of brackets around it. This is called the Focus on Content button. And all he does is he gives us more real estate. All right, so for those of you that are working off of small laptops and you don't like the scrolling back and forth to see your full screen, which I know is a hassle, or if you've had to enlarge your screen because you can't see, some of the lettering for whatever reason, you can certainly use your Focus on Content button to give yourself more real estate. Okay, and again, I just clicked it to bring it back. Now, one small thing, when you do click on your Focus on Content button, I have noticed in my years of training that when we click on it, we're not sure how to navigate outside of this page. So guys, just remember that chances are, if you cannot find something in this tool, or you think you're lost, or you've broken something, which won't happen, there's a good chance that it's a view that you've changed via the Focus on Content button, or some of the other views in this tool have changed. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It's always going to be, not always, most of the time it's going to be a view. The other thing I want to show you here is that we've got project sites listed here, and some of our customers do keep project sites on the home page. Your project site is actually your child site. It is sort of a dotted line and a collaboration center to your actual project plan. Okay, so if you want to launch your full project where the schedule lives and where you may have project details, you're going to go into the center, not the project site. Again, this is our child site. This is our collaboration center. The minute we start to add resources to tasks on our schedule, those folks get access to this area. Okay, and this really helps so that you're not, sending emails back and forth across the ether of, updated statement of work or in scope, out of scope documents, renderings, JPEGs, whatever it is that you need. You don't need to send them because they can all be posted in the project site, which we will look at in a little bit. So I'm going to launch the project center. Again, I can click on the quick launch or the tile. I kind of like clicking on the tile. And here we are at our project center level. Remember, if I'm looking at this and saying, hey, where did my green tiles go? Maybe I need to launch my status reports. All I have to do is click my logo like Dorothy clicked her heels and head back home. Okay, it's a simple click. So back to my project center. So this again is just a basic dashboard that we've created for our view. So again, if you guys are looking at your own environments or you've never seen this before, understand that we've customized this for our internal team and for training purposes. Off the top, right on the left, sorry, I shouldn't say right on the left-hand side, on the left-hand side, under the blue indicator icon, guys, these little icons over here, this launches Project Professional. It is a quick way to go from PWA into Project Professional. Okay, so you can save, each of these tools as a favorite or as a desktop icon and launch them there. But if you're already in this tool, so PWA, Project Web App, and you want to launch Project Professional because you want to do some more heavy lifting on your schedule, simply find the name of your project here, hit the little Gantt chart or sort of task looking schedule on the left-hand side, and that will launch Pro for you. These icons here, so risks, issues, and documents, these are little icons that allow us as project managers to click on any of them and launch issues, risks, or documents. So in this particular project, we have a document that's been uploaded to the site. So when I click on it, it's actually going to take me into that child site I talked about where the projects live, and there are my documents. Okay, so this is the child site. I'm going to navigate back up by clicking on the project center. Okay. Now we've got these traffic lights here. Traffic lights, very customizable. If you want to show baselining information, overall health status of your projects based on these color codes, we can certainly do that. Here we underneath the finish, we have additional columns. And folks, you have this slider bar. Okay, so with a left click, all you have to do is pull them back and forth. All right, and there's always stuff hiding under there. If I grab my slider bar and put him here, and I want to look at my Gantt chart and find specific Gantt view information for a particular project, what I'm going to do is go down to, I'm going to find the project that I created for this particular webinar. So there's my webinar. I'm going to click on that. Whoops. I didn't mean to do that, guys. Getting a little overzealous here. I'm going to, click on the white space for my project plan. Okay, so I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to look for in my ribbon, scroll to project. Okay, scroll to project. So for those of you that are familiar with Pro, you may be familiar with that functionality called scroll to task. This works the same way. You click on scroll to project, and what it does is it zips the Gantt chart into view for you so that you don't have to take this little slider bar and go fishing for it. Okay, where did it go? Well, if I have this highlighted and I click on scroll to project, there it is. Okay, so scroll to task works the same way, which I'll show you shortly. So that's just some high level stuff in PWA that I do notice that, we tend to forget when we're using this tool. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the force check-in. So for those of you that are familiar with the tools and toggling between Pro and PWA, you may find that with checking in and checking out our projects, like we do with sort of the SharePoint style, you may jump into one tool and launch the other tool. So you may be in PWA, want to launch your project in Project Pro, and for whatever reason, it's giving you an error message that you did not check it in one of the tools. Hop into your server settings. Don't even bother scratching your head wondering what the heck happened, guys. As soon as you see a message about checking in and checking out, go into your server settings, okay, which is found in your quick launch on the left-hand side. If you don't have server settings on the quick launch on the left-hand side, you can also go into your gear, okay? Your gear and then your PWA settings will take you to this same page. Okay, so that was the gear and PWA settings, or server settings, takes you to this landing page. And you will have force check-in enterprise objects. PMs will have this access, portfolio managers, team leads, resource managers. The only one that will not see this setting is a team member, and that's because they don't own projects. They may be PMs on projects in which they own those, but if they're acting as a team member on a particular project, they will not see the force check-in, okay, not for their eyes. So force check-in, locate your project, and then just click check-in. That forces it in so that you can open it in Project Professional and minimize some of the pain points that we have when we're toggling between two of the tools. Okay. All right, I'm going to pop back into my Project Center. I'm going to hit my logo, take me right back up to the top. And then I'm going to go back to my Project Center, and I'm going to locate the same project that we were looking at. So the webinar project 1109. Right? And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch this project in Professional, and we're going to go over some of the tips and tricks in Project Professional. Okay, so to do that, once again, click on this little icon off to the left-hand side. It's going to ask me if I want to open the application. I definitely do. I get a little message here that says, do you want to open this file? Yes, I definitely do. And as she loads, here we go. So now I'm in the same project that I was in. I know this because there is the, oops, where's my mouse? There is the name of the project, Webinar Project 1109. Okay. Now, a couple of things here from a navigational perspective. I've got my slider bar here. We know that there's information hiding under here, right? There's other columns. So I can drag this. If I've dragged it too far and I want it to look, nice and neat and pretty as I'm working on it, folks, just put your mouse on the slider bar, double click, and it moves it right over for you and lines it up nicely so that you have the Gantt chart available to you on the right-hand side. Okay. Speaking of Gantt, everything is MIA here. It's missing in action. So I'm going to simply click on the name of the task, and then I'm going to click on scroll to task. And now I can see all of my tasks on the Gantt side view. So once again, guys, I clicked on the name of the task. I can actually scroll down to software deployment, the very last task, line 88. And instead of grabbing this slider bar, again, scroll to task, and it flips it all into view for me. Okay, so nice and easy. I'm going to scroll up to the top here. All right. One of the things I like to show, and I find these little things exciting, folks, so forgive me if perhaps you don't find find the excitement that I do, but we have something that allows us to format our task list a little bit easier. So a lot of us, when we're going through, let's say, a milestone and we've hit a milestone, we may click on that milestone. We may right click on that milestone and mark it bold. We may mark it a color to show its completeness, okay, as we're going through our task list. I'm just going to hit undo on that. Now, I am going to show you a quick and easy way to be able to do that. So I'm going to click on the Gantt chart format. And then I'm going to come over to the left-hand side where text styles lives. All right, so when I click on text styles, I can change particular items. So when I click on this drop down for all, I've got this beautiful one called milestone tasks. And folks, just a reminder, anything with a 0 duration in your schedule is considered a milestone task, right? In the world according to Microsoft and most project management tools. So I'm going to select milestone task because that's the item that I want to change. I don't want to have to go through these individually and highlight them and mark them bold. So what I'll do now is, just to make this clear to you folks, I'm going to change the font as well. I'm going to make it bold. I'm going to make it larger, and I'm going to change the color, and I'm going to make it purple. Okay, outside of the fact that it's my favorite color, red and green are colorblind colors. So if I'm changing these things to red and green and I'm sharing this schedule with folks, I don't know what they can and cannot see. They will see shades of gray. So I'm sticking with a safe color here. I'm going to hit OK and watch what happens to anything that I have in my schedule, which is listed as a 0-day duration. Okay. So nice and easy. All of my milestones that have a 0-day duration are now purple, and Castellar, I think, was what I selected, and 16 font bold. Okay, nice and easy. And folks, we are limited, and I have been asked this before, if we can customize the items to change. Unfortunately not. It is locked down. We have tried, trust me. So these are locked down, but these are the items that you can change, and there's quite a nice list here. All right, I'm going to hit undo, which is one of the really nice things about Project Professional and Project Pro in particular, is that until I save, I can hit undo all the way back to the beginning of my project plan until I hit save. Okay. So that's one thing I like to show. The other thing I want to show you is we have under the indicators column on the left-hand side, some options that we can access. I'm just going to enlarge this here with a left click. So when I left click, we've got something called link. And link allows us to attach website links, hyperlinks, links to documents to this page, whether it's for our reference or for folks that are also using Project Professional. Maybe I'm PMing on this particular project, so other folks are going to be looking at this and need to access this information. Maybe it's just a reminder to me. But once I click link, I can add a text to display. I'm just going to type in the word link, but folks, you can use this any way you want. You can write, governing doc or, some HR related documentation that may have to do with this particular task that we're talking about. And then in my address bar, I would type in the address of wherever this link is going. Okay, I wouldn't recommend you guys use YouTube, but maybe you have a document on YouTube, a training video or something that you want to link in here. I'm going to hit OK. And now if we look over on the left-hand side, my cursor's blocking it. There we go. We've got a little picture of a globe. And if we click on that globe, it is going to take us to YouTube. And had I been specific, YouTube / whatever, it would take me right to that site. So I'm going to go back and do this one more time just to show you that you can connect in here to an existing file or web page, place in a document, create a new document, link an email address, anything in here you can link to by just clicking on it, finding it. Okay. And folks, the only limitation here outside of, adding your link is that you can only add one link per line. So if you have an intranet page that you want to link in here, and maybe there are two different documents, you can't do more than one on this line. It has to be on separate lines. So that's a limitation here. Okay. So far, any questions, guys, as we go through? Okay.
Where can I see this link? Sorry, Thomas was speaking here. Where
Sure.
can I see the
Where can you see it?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
right in the indicators column, as long as you have an indicators column, you'd have to add it if you don't have it. But once it's here, you can click on it and it's going to take you into YouTube.
Okay.
Okay. I swear, guys, I haven't gone into these sites before, ever. So let me just close this down and go back into my Project Professional. Okay, so yeah, your hyperlink lives in the indicators column. And if you don't have an indicators column, go to your add new column, click on the drop down, hit the letter I in your keyboard, and there's indicators right there for you. You can add them, and then you can, very much like in Excel, you can just left click, drag them right over to the beginning column.
Okay, thanks.
You're very welcome. All right, I'm just going to double click and make him line up nicely for me. Whoops. I didn't mean to add the ID column, guys. Let me just click on hide. All right. The other thing I wanted to talk about was timeline. Guys, not enough folks use the timeline, and there are some real benefits to accessing our timeline, which is right up at the top here, where I'm, moving my mouse. Now, if you do not have a timeline, to add it, all you have to do is go into your, I'm lying here, sorry, go into your view. Okay, so there's your view ribbon. And come over to your right-hand side, kind of right-hand side, and you've got this timeline toggle that will turn him on or off. Okay. Just a side note, guys, I customized my quick access toolbar to have my timeline in here. because I find that as long as I've been living in these tools, PWA and Pro, I still forget where the heck things are hiding in here and I have to go fishing. So I actually customized my quick access toolbar to grab the 3 things that I use the most in this tool: my publish, my scroll to task, and adding my timeline or turning it off when I want more real estate. Okay. And just a quick side note, if you want to do that yourselves, once you find timeline, just simply right click and you have an add to quick access toolbar function. Mine is grayed out because I've already got it added. So if I'm adding this one, for example, add to quick access toolbar with a right click. And your quick access toolbar can either be down here below your ribbon, or it may be up here above your ribbon. Most of you will have it above your ribbon. I just move mine down just so that I can see it better and remember that I have it and utilize it to make my life a little bit easier. Okay, so back to timeline. I'm going to grab this line here, left click and pull them down, just because I want to see more items listed here. Okay, I'm just going to grab this and enlarge so I have access to my full timeline. I'm going to click into my timeline so that Microsoft Microsoft Project knows that I want to actually update this timeline in here. So I've activated it by clicking into it. One of the reasons I also have to activate it is because we are allowed to add multiple timelines. And for each one that I want to update separately, I'd need to click on it to activate it. You notice that the line gets blacker? It's a little bit blacker now every time I click into it. This is how the tool knows which timeline I want to update with what information. So the purpose of the timeline, guys, is all kinds of things. I've seen people send these specifically to vendors, external customers, clients that need to see some information, not all information. A lot of us do the old school, sending a PDF copy of this project schedule to external folks, but they're seeing everything under the hood, right? And we don't necessarily want that. We don't necessarily want them to see who the resources are. If we have the cost column added in here, we don't necessarily want them to see that there is cost or what our internal costs are associated with this work, because we're billing them differently. So if I want them to see that these tasks, for example, are 100% complete. Okay. Now they all have a little check mark here, so you can see that they are visibly complete. I can also quickly add % complete as my column. So now they're all 100% complete, but I don't want my external guys to know all of the other stuff. I can grab, these tasks, right click and add to my timeline. Okay. They're kind of squishy because of the dates that I have in here, but it's added to my timeline. Guys, you're going to see this in different views and in different ways. If I were to give more time to these particular tasks, it's just that I don't have durations in there. I, don't have everything working, as neatly as it would be in the real world when I'm working on a project plan. But as you can see here, as I start to make my tasks with more durations rather than 2 hours, 1 hour, they're spreading out so that I can see them clearly. If I need to send this to my client, my vendor, or maybe I need to send it to my EPMO or a team member so that they know what tasks they have coming up, I've added those tasks in question. I can right click, copy it, open up my Outlook, and pop it into an email and send it off. The really nice thing about this timeline is you can customize the heck out of this thing. Any changes you make in your project schedule here is going to change what you have up in your timeline. So you're not having to adjust 2 areas, you're adjusting 1. I've got some slipping on this task. So now I've got, 10 days on the task. Of course, I'm not even going to read that error, guys, but I've changed it to 10 days. I should read the error. And this task will change to 10 days. And if you look when I hover, it actually says duration 10 days. Okay. And it also auto-calculated down to 5% complete. If you recall, it was originally, I think, a 2-hour or a 4-hour task that was 100% complete. But because things changed and there was slippage, now the percentage has changed. So it's changed up here, it's changed over here. Okay. To add to this timeline functionality, I'm going to once again click into my timeline just to make sure that the tool still knows I'm working in here because I was clicking around in my schedule. And I'm going to add something called bar label because right now I've got 3 timelines going and I don't know which one I'm creating for whom. So I'm going to create this one. Oops. When I spell it right, client. This one might be for my team member and this one might be for my EPMO. And I hit something and it disappears. So now all I've got is the letter E, and that's just because my nails hit something else. So client, team member, EPMO. Okay. Let me just go back in there just because it's kind of bugging me. EPMO. All right. So you can label these, and again, right click, copy it, and send it to whomever needs to see it, and you can customize them differently. My EPMO, for example, only cares about perhaps the milestones that I've hit. So I'm going to click into the EPMO timeline, right click on the actual milestone and add to timeline. And there it is with the little diamond. If I've got too much going on, I can grab this and pull it out because maybe there's a lot of milestones that are happening all in a very close proximity to each other. So I can add another milestone, drag it out so that there's more space. I can right click, I can change the colors. I know yellow is a little bit tough to see. I already warned you against red, but I'm going to change it to red, just hoping that everyone can see that red because it was gray before. Okay.
Hey,
So,
Suzanne, we have
yes.
a quick question. Irina asks, can we change the view of timeline date labels to show by month rather than by day?
So we're talking about this across the top here. Definitely. If I right click, I can go to my timeline. I think it's my detailed note. Yes, you can. Hang on. Sorry, I have to actually do it over here. My apologies. So yes, if we go into the Gantt chart header line over at the top here, and you right click, you can go into your time scale. And time scale allows you to change your units to whatever you'd like. Okay. Did that answer your question, Irina?
Sorry, can you show that in action? So if you change it there, will it show in the timeline on top that you changed?
It will, yes. Let's see, number 2.
Can you show an example, please?
Yeah, I'd have to go in and change some of the tiers, which will take me a little bit of time just because it's already preset to months. But what I can do for you, Irina, if you'd like, is I can send you a document that talks about how, see, there's top tiers, middle tiers, bottom tiers, and everything that you do over on the Gantt chart here affects how you're viewing your timeline. They are directly related to each other. So I need to play around and move my top tier, my middle tier, and my bottom tier in order to give us that time scale that you're looking for in days. But I can send you a document if you'd like.
Yes, please. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Erin, do you mind marking that down for me and grabbing Irina's email so I can get that to her?
Definitely.
Thank you. Sorry, Irina, it's just with 20 minutes left, I know it's going to take me down a rabbit hole of fiddling to get it just right. But it's not as hard as I'm making it sound. I just want to cover some other stuff.
Not a problem. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All right, so yes, lots of things can be done here, guys. And to add to this timeline really quickly before I move on, let me just click back in here again. There's my timeline format ribbon. We talked about adding additional timeline bars if we need. You also have the ability over here to copy your timeline into PowerPoint. So what I like to recommend is if you can build the heck out of it here in Project Professional, take it into PowerPoint, and then you can further customize. There are way more formatting options in PowerPoint than there is in Microsoft Project Professional. So if you want to do some really neat, cool things with it, then definitely take it in here. Okay, and you can see that there are a couple of other options here as well. But this PowerPoint is really neat. Now, when I turn off my timeline, so I can go back into my view, I can actually just turn it off from here. But I'm just going to go into my view the way I showed you initially, and I can deselect it. It's not deleted, guys. I've been working on it, and gosh, you know, I still need to add more stuff to it. I just bring it back, and it's all there for me. Okay, and remember, I did it on my quick access toolbar, so I don't actually have to go fishing in my view to find it. But once you find anything in your ribbon that you want to add, right-click, add it to your quick access toolbar. And that's where your magic will happen. When I'm saying magic, guys, you can't see me, but I'm using air quotes. Okay? There's lots of other magic in the world. This is just for Microsoft Project. All right, so that's our timeline. I'm going to turn off our timeline now and pop back into our typical schedule. So the next thing I wanted to show you was the ability to change views. Now, a lot of us are already changing views, and that's just by clicking on the Gantt chart tab. Whether you're in Tasks and Gantt chart tab, or whether you're in your view and Gantt chart tab, you can select more views and change this, but there's also a really quick way that I like, because it saves me from having to change my ribbon to find the right one to go in here. So it's actually saving me a couple clicks by coming over to this left-hand area here. So where it says Gantt chart in gray for me, it may be in green for you folks. I've changed my coloring to get rid of as much green as possible. Right-click, and there are all of my options to change my views. It is one click versus 2 to 3 clicks going the way we traditionally change our views. Okay, and if you've changed your view and you haven't saved anything and you're looking at this and you're thinking, where the heck did all of my tasks go? All you have to do is simply go and undo if you're not sure, and it takes you back to your original view. Remember, I told you at the beginning that we often run into problems where it's a view that has confused the issue. We're so busy toggling back and forth. We've probably got multiple screens. You're stopping working on this and you're popping into email or opening up another document and you think, where the heck did I go and how do I get there? How do I get back? Just hit your undo button, guys, because it's almost always going to be the view that you're in. Okay. All right. Next thing up on our hit list, guys, I'm going to grab my slider bar and pull them a little bit more over because I want to see a little bit more of my Gantt. If this is too squishy for you guys, over on the bottom right-hand side, we do have the slider scale, the zoom, that allows our Gantt chart to just get a little less squishy. So now, as you can see, it's a little easier on the eyes, and you can do your screenshots and stuff here if this is what you want to capture and send to somebody. Okay, so you've got your zoom on the bottom right-hand side. And folks, I want to talk a little bit about changing your task type. So we've got finish to start relationships happening right throughout this project schedule. Finish to start is the most common, but when it's not, there's lots of things we can do. I've noticed that a lot of folks love adding in their predecessors and putting in codes, finish to start, minus, lag, etc. And that can take some time to get right. Other folks can double click inside the task, and then from here they can go in under the predecessor tab and go in and change your task type. But again, you're adding clicks to your work. So a nice easy way that I love, maybe you'll love too, is if I click on, come on mouse, if I click on the little blue arrow that's pointing from one task to the next, and I double click, there pops up my task dependency. And here I can really quickly change my task relationship. and I can add lag to this task. So now it's a start to start, and it's got, I think I did 5 days of lag in here. Okay, so again, all I did was I double clicked on the arrow. This little box, 7 days of lag. This box popped up, and I can make my changes right from the Gantt. Something to remember, if you do make changes on your Gantt, it is going to affect your schedule. How do I know? Well, this was the task that I changed over here on the right. If I follow that, there is my task 8 as the predecessor, start to start relationship. So I'm trying to make this become a pointer, but he's being funny today. And then plus 7 days. Okay, so you've got 3 ways to change your task dependencies. Within the task itself, you can write it out, or you can simply double click over in your Gantt and make it work. Okay, any questions, guys, on some of that information we've covered thus far? Okay. All right, we're going to go in. Just going to minimize or just make this look a little easier. We're going to go back into our changing of views. So if you recall, I've got my Gantt chart on the left-hand side. I'm going to right-click, and I'm into views. I actually want to talk a little bit about resource usage views, guys, because this is an underutilized view, and this is one of the best views that we have in Project Professional. We have capacity planning in PWA, which I'll take a look at in a few minutes, but in Project Professional, especially for those of you that are heavy lifters with resourcing, you have a lot of power in your resource usage view. So what that means is, and I'm just going to enlarge this a little bit, because you can add additional columns so that you can see some more information. I'm going to add project so that I can see the name of the project, okay? And you can add any other columns that you'd like. If you care about cost in this view, you can add your cost, okay? So lots of customization happening on your left frame, but on your right frame, you have more options. With a simple right click, you can now add any over allocations so that you can see those hours. You can right click and add remaining availability so that you can see a person's remaining availability, provided it's been created on the back end, you know, the correct hours that they're working, days of the week, etc. It will give you all of that information. Okay. And to add to that, anything in red is an over allocation. And if I can't find it, so I'm just going to scroll through here and see if I can find something that might work for my example. You know what? I'm going to scroll over. So it's all black now. These are not over allocated items. And let's pretend this is the view I came into. I want to see what this person's over allocations are. What's making this 455.73 hours over allocated? Where does it land? In what month? And how many hours? If I click on it, all I have to do is use my handy dandy scroll to task, and it zips it to the next over allocation. So I talked to you about scroll to task being utilized at the task level, scroll to project being utilized at the project level, but in some of these other views, you can utilize the same functions to make it work for you. So it will let you know exactly what you're looking for, rather than having to go like this and say, okay, where are those red spots? I mean, I know I have a lot here, but you know, supposing we didn't have a whole heck of a lot of over allocation, so I wanted to find the one that was sort of the diamond in the rough hidden, I'd be able to just click and scroll to task, and it shifts it in for me. Okay. You can also change the work allocations right from this view. Okay, so if you've got resources in here and you want to change how they're allocated, you can click in to their work and you can change the working hours. Okay, so you have some options in here. So that's your resource usage view, guys. I encourage you on your own to come in, play around, add some of the columns in here, and look at how it's going to help you out. Okay, because there's a lot of information in here that you can add. I'm going to just click on my undo, and I'm back into, oops, one more time, back into my original Gantt chart view. I guess I did a few things, didn't I? Yes, so there we go. All right. Next thing I want to show you, and now we're going to pop into PWA. Before I do that, though, I really quickly want to let you guys know that when you're in Project Pro, one of the main uses for Project Pro would be working with resources. Last thing on resources, actually, sorry, it just occurred to me that I should cover this. When you're in Pro, you can't do some of this stuff in PWA, all right? So we're going to go into our view, and we've got something called the details view. And this gives us a split screen, okay? So it's under your timeline toggle. And this, if you like this view, and I know a lot of people that only work within this view and they have the details always turned on, just right click and add it to your quick access toolbar so that it's there, okay? But what this does is as we start to assign workout to individuals, as well as look at the task information, when you turn on your details, you can see additional information. What is this person's units allocated? What are their hours of work? Do I need to change anything in here? I've got effort driven. I can turn on manually scheduled tasks, which I don't want to do. It's not necessarily a recommendation. I can change my task type right from here. % complete. Okay. So a lot of folks will turn on your details and they will manage all of their resources right from this box right here. Okay. I double clicked on analyst. Okay, so when I double clicked on the name, my resource information popped up so that I could see any additional information. Maybe the standard rates changed for this particular work they're doing. Maybe I don't want 100% of their time. I only want them allocated at 50%. So again, you've got a lot of views in Project Professional. A lot of them are focused on resourcing. If you take a look up here in my ribbon, you've got your team planner. I'm just going to hit cancel here, guys. You've got your team planner, which is all about, whoops, let me turn off my details. Team planner, we can only do one view at a time. This is all about dragging and dropping. So anything in red is considered an over allocation, and we can move these tasks to different areas, different people, different resources, different times. Okay. I know this is a little hard on the eyes, guys, because of all of the red, but it's all drag and drop in our team planner here, not to be confused with Teams and Planner, right? This is old school. This came way before Teams and Planner was ever imagined, I would think. When you make your change in here and you go back into your Gantt chart view, those changes will have been kept. Okay, you've got your resource plan view. Again, more things that you can add in here. All right. You've got your resource usage, which we just looked at. You've got a resource sheet where you can add in local resources. So perhaps you're painting an office and the painters don't work for your organization. But you do want to assign them work so that you know on your schedule that it's showing, you can add that person in there. And that's a local resource. Cannot be shared with the organization like these guys can. These are all enterprise resources. And then of course, cost per use, they charge me, $200 a day or an hour or whatever it happens to be. $200 a day would be awesome. Okay. And then of course, any other views that you have, resource farm and the graph. And of course, we have the ever-loving network diagram, which my engineers tend to love. And that is just drawing lines to various tasks and connecting them. Okay. So folks, that's just some high level neat stuff in Project Professional that we have that we don't often have a chance to play around with and look at, but they are available to you. And tell me what you want to do. We forget about this a lot. This is in all of our Microsoft tools. This is going to help you if you're looking for something. How do I add my timeline? Simply type it in here if you've forgotten. Right? Don't go fishing the way I do sometimes. I actually do tend to go fishing, but you also have the search function. All right. With that said, I'm going to quickly pop back into PWA here, okay, because I really quickly wanted to show you a little bit more on the project site. So I'm going to go back into my webinar. Okay. See, my status says checked out to meet in another session. That's because I launched it in Project Pro. So I'm going to file, save, or sorry, file, close. I don't really care about my changes, to be honest, but I'm going to save it, check it in, hit OK. Now it's officially checked in. So when I pop back into PWA, I'm going to refresh. This message will go away. And now it's just checked in like a library book. So I am going to check it out. Whoops, I hit close. Jeez. Sometimes, guys, my fingers don't work with my brain. Edit to check it out. Okay, so now I can edit my project plan as I was doing. As you can see, my timeline came over and any of the stuff that I added was added in here. Not a lot of options in your ribbon to customize here. Add to timeline is really your main functionality. Highlight the task, add it to your timeline. That's about all you can do. Okay, not a whole heck of a lot else. So folks, really quickly, we've got 1 minute left. Project site, want to pop back in here. This is your, once it loads, Project Collaboration Center. Any documents that you add in here, all of your team members will gain access to these documents. You can create file folders to make it nice and neat, and you can upload all of your documents in here. Boy, I feel like I could have been doing this for about 5 more hours. Erin, I'm sorry, I took up all the time.
That's okay. That's what we're here for.
Guys, there's so much more I can show you. I do apologize. I could just talk about this stuff all day.
Yeah, we'll definitely schedule some follow-up sessions with Suzanne, so be on the lookout for those. If you follow us on Eventbrite, that's where we post all of our upcoming webinars. We also post them on our social media sites, so please go ahead and follow us there too. We're always adding tips and tricks videos, demos, just a bunch of learning opportunities. And if you guys have any questions, oh, thanks, Rhonda.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Glad you were able to join us.
Yes.
I put a survey in the chat as well. If you guys could fill that out, that just helps us know if the content we're creating is relevant and useful and gives us ideas for future webinars. As always, if you guys have any questions, my email is erin@marquee360. I will put that in the chat as well. Please feel free to reach out. And have a great rest of your Wednesday.